In the previous lesson, we talked about how King Herod got really angry when the wise men, the Magi, they were warned by an angel not to go back to King Herod and tell him where Jesus is. So they went by a different road. So they didn't go back to see King Herod. And now what's happening? This is his son, King Herod's son. He says, "You cannot allow anything to threaten your position on this throne, father, nor will I. If those fools aren't going to return to me and tell me which child must be destroyed, then we must destroy them all," he says. According to what they told us and the timeline figured out from the prophecies, if we're going to make sure this threat is terminated, then we must kill all boys in Bethlehem, 2 years old and younger. "Sire," say one of his advisors, "surely it would be easier to simply investigate, ask the locals who the Magi visited, perhaps." "Fool," says King's son, "do as my father says. This throne is my father's, and no one, not the kingmakers, not this rumored newborn king, no one will take it away. Go, gather some soldiers loyal to my father and give the order," he says. So they want to kill all the boys who were born in Bethlehem because they want to get rid of Jesus. They want to kill him because they are afraid that this newborn king would become king, and then King Herod wouldn't be a king anymore. And he likes being a king. That's why they want to kill all the boys, just to be safe. Meanwhile, in Bethlehem, Joseph, get up. Who says that? The cool-looking angel, of course. Yeah, angel, not Pinidi, but angel. "Hurry and take your wife and the child away from this place. You must flee to Egypt and stay there until I tell you to return." "What? King Herod wishes to kill the boy. You must go," says the angel. You couldn't see my picture, it seems. But, says Joseph, "how will I?" Yeah, how? He thinks. "Mary, what is it, Joseph? Get up, quickly. An angel just told me that King Herod wants Jesus dead. We must leave this place now, immediately." So they pack up the few things that they have and they go to Egypt, away from Bethlehem, so Jesus would not be killed by King Herod. And so Mary, Joseph, and Jesus followed the angel's instructions. "Please, sir, we just need a place to stay tonight. I have a room available, but to get it ready for you at this late hour, we'll give you this gold coin. That will do nicely." Even as Herod's men followed his instructions, many of the children who were in Bethlehem, boys of 2 years old and younger, were killed at that time. In Egypt, they again built a life for themselves using Joseph's skills as a carpenter and money from the Magi's gifts. Magi's, they brought some gold, remember? And they used some of it to build their life in Egypt. Yeah. Here is King Herod's fortress, not long after. "And so, great Caesar, I recommend you split the land of the Jews as I have outlined." He's writing a letter to Caesar, the king of the Roman king. He's the Jewish king, and there's a Roman king because Roman Empire is in charge, even though they put a kind of a Jewish king on the throne in Israel, so people would not be complaining too much, as I have outlined. "Father, what treachery is this? You plan to make me split your land with Philip and Archelaus?" So the king, King Herod, wants to divide the kingdom into 3 different parts to give each part to one of his sons. He has 3 sons, and that's what he's doing. And one of his sons is not very happy about it. "Boy," he says, I know what is best for you and for my land." "Father, you know as well as I do, this is not about what's best for me or this land." What is that stench? This whole room reeks of rot. Look at you, oh great King Herod, king of the Jews. Father, you spend every waking day protecting your place in this kingdom. You've killed wives and children and even some of your own sons in a desperate attempt to keep your place as king. But look at you, Father, you've failed. This kingdom is being taken away from you anyway. You, come back here, says Herod. Face me like a man, you foolish. He falls down and dies. This is how King Herod died. Apparently, he was very sick and his whole body was rotting. After King Herod's death, Caesar split the kingdom as he wished among 3 of his sons. Herod's body was laid to rest in one of his immense and richly adorned fortresses. And shortly after Herod's death, when he died, an angel appeared to Joseph again. Joseph, fear not. Get up. You can take the child and his mother and return to Israel. Those seeking the boy's life no longer live themselves. They're dead. It is safe to return. Nobody wants Jesus dead anymore. Once more, Joseph followed the angel's instructions. How close are we to home? The gold has nearly run out. Just a few more nights, says Joseph. And finally, they returned home to Nazareth. Nazareth is where they originally were in, but then they had to go to Bethlehem. Remember, Joseph and Mary, when Mary was pregnant, they had to go to Bethlehem, and Jesus was born in Bethlehem. That's the city of David, by the way. But Nazareth is where Jesus grew up, not Bethlehem, even though he was born there. After Egypt, they went back to Nazareth. Let's read. Well, a few hands raised, apparently. Let's take a look. We'll start with Guyana.
Okay. Escape to Egypt. When the wise men had left, an angel of the Lord warned in a dream to leave Bethlehem and flee to Egypt. So Joseph and Mary left the town of Bethlehem during the night and headed for Egypt with Jesus. When Herod realized he had been tricked by the wise men, who didn't come back to tell him where the baby was, he was furious and ordered his soldiers to kill all the boys under 2 years of age in and around Bethlehem. Meanwhile, Joseph and Mary stayed in Egypt where they lived in safety until Herod died. Then they returned to Judah to the town of Nazareth where Jesus grew up.
The question is, why was King Herod so afraid of a baby that he wanted him dead? Why would he want to do that? Sarah, can you read for us today? The second part.
Yes, sir. Why was King Herod so afraid of a baby? The wise men went to King Herod to find out about a newborn king, thinking that he was the most likely to know about the birth of a Jewish king. Meanwhile, Herod must have wondered if he had missed something. How had these wise men from the east found about this baby while he knew nothing about him? Why hadn't anyone told him? Herod had not been chosen by the Jews to be their king. The Romans, who had conquered the country, put him in charge. When he heard that a Jewish king had been born, he became jealous and he was afraid. Herod's selfish attitude took away his peace. He became so afraid that someone would take his throne that he had many innocent babies killed. How different Herod's attitude was to that of the wise men. They left with hearts full of peace and joy. Herod's heart was full of anger and fear, but Jesus had not come to take Herod's throne. Jesus wanted his heart.
That's right, that's what Jesus came for, not for the throne, not for the power of this world. He wanted our hearts only. That's his mission. Let's read the verse for today together. Ready? Go. And we have
the
Well
You
said.
will do what
And
you
you
can
will
to
do
pay
well to pay
attention
attention to his
to
actions.
his
Shine
As
going
the light shining in the dark. Days until the day dawns and the morning stars rises 2 Peter 1:19.
That's right. A few reactions, different reactions to Jesus. We can compare the Herod's reaction and the Magi's reaction. His attitude was to be afraid, to anger and fear. And Magi's attitude was heart full of peace and joy. And this is kind of a question for you. What do you feel when you think about Jesus? Peace and joy or anger and fear? That's a good question, isn't it? Yeah. Let me stop the recording.